adjusting a little bit here. Maybe that's better. I don't know. It seems like we're cutting off some of the top, but I don't know. It got moved around a little bit. I'm not sure what it's supposed to be, but here we are. Okay, so it's Friday. End of the week. It's pretty good. Almost the end of the Olympics. I don't know if you've been watching. I haven't been watching that much. I found the coverage really confusing and hard to follow. So it's been hard to find things that you're looking for. But we have found a couple of fun things that we weren't looking for. Pretty much anything with freestyle in it is pretty fun. So BMX, bike, and skateboarding. There's some kind of a rock climbing, like a speedy rock climbing that is pretty amazing to see. Some surfing. We were watching surfing, which I was like, how are they even going to do that? But I guess I was thinking, how are they going to film that? Like, that it was so it would make sense. But it actually seemed to work out pretty well. So that was good. So you probably still have time to catch a few things if you haven't. It might be worth giving it a shot. I always am kind of interested in the Olympics because I think it's a great symbol of what we could be. You know, I love the idea of all these people getting together and working together, and you see this a lot, even in the races and the different competitions where people are really pitted one country to the other. There's still a lot of camaraderie and good sportsmanship to be seen. People helping each other out. People being considerate of other competitors, and I love to see that because I think if they can do that when the stakes are that high, why can't we do that all the time, right? Why can't we do that to everyone? No reason, right? And I also think there's some good lessons to be learned, right? The whole thing that happened with Simone Biles, the gymnast who dropped out for medical reasons, maybe not for medical reasons, maybe for mental health reasons. I mean, for whatever reasons, right? And there were the hue and cry over that. I think it's very illuminating when things like that happen. We get a real insight into what our attitudes are as a society towards just what's going on, right? When how people, right? So generally speaking, a lot of people were pretty outraged that she dropped out, that she, took someone's spot and then left, and someone didn't get the opportunity to go, blah blah blah, all this, right? And to some extent that is true, right? I mean, when you are given a really rare opportunity and then you choose not to follow through with it, you are potentially, denying someone else that opportunity. But as you can probably guess, in a yogic sense, she was doing just what she needed to do. There is no opportunity so rare and so good that you should go through it if it is not your path, if it is not in your heart, if you are not prepared and at your best. If you know it will be detrimental to you, Why would you do it? Why would anyone do it? Um, Too often we struggle through things that are not meant for us, lives that we don't like, careers that perhaps were chosen for us, or we just fell into um, as a happenstance, but we really have no interest in it and we kind of dread doing it day to day. Um, Because these things have happened to you does not mean they need to happen to everyone. It puts me in mind of the people who are against things like higher minimum wage and health care because they didn't have those things. They didn't get those things. Why should someone else? Um, I had to pay for my own college. Why should the government pay for other people to be educated? So it's again a question of selfishness, right? A question of why should someone have something I don't have? And instead, we should ask, why shouldn't they? Why shouldn't I? Why didn't I? What did I not have that would have improved my life? What could we extend then to someone else? Um, Someone else being educated does not diminish you. It improves you. It improves your potential. What if that kid who's getting their school paid for comes up with a cure for a disease that you get in the future? What if they become your dentist when your dentist retires, right? Someone has to take their place. What if um, they grow up to do something really amazing or not? Even they don't have to, right? But I'm saying there is benefit to this, even if you can't think of it in a generic sense, in a all, rising tide lifts all boats sense, which can be hard, right? I mean, if you are not of that belief, right? If you are not able to reconcile yourself to that belief that we are all one, you still think we're all separate, then think about it that way. Someone could separately do something very important for you that they may never get the chance to do because they weren't given education, they weren't given these opportunities. So if we can, we should. Right? That should be our motto. If we can, we should. And most of the time we can. Right? Um, it's not, when we say, well, we don't have the money for that, that's ridiculous. We do. We just don't want to spend the money on that, right? We have a lot of money. We just spend it in other ways. So there's that. But the Olympics um, brings out the best and shows us maybe sometimes the worst that we are and can be in a global sense. And I find that very interesting. So if you have a chance and you want to tune in, watch some freestyle type events. They're fun. Um, and then have it be done until the next time. All right. So um, let's just move a little. Um, and as we are doing our practice, let's think about this idea of steering our own path, um, of making our life suitable for us, and considering, maybe there have been times, or maybe there are times when you are doing things that you do not think are suited for you. Maybe they're just a habit that you've gotten into, or maybe they are a way you've structured your life that needs to be changed. Um, all things are possible. This is the This is the lesson of yoga. All things are possible. Change can always happen. Even if you don't think it can, it can. You just, maybe you don't want to take the steps you need to take to get there. And that's okay. Um, but know that, right? You've made a choice. Inaction is in itself a choice, and not a bad choice. Maybe you just aren't ready to change it, or maybe you don't. Maybe you're not unhappy enough to change it, right? I mean, that's true. We get into these um, we get into these sort of ruts where we are doing things, and sometimes we don't feel very happy with what we're doing, but yet we aren't really unhappy either. Maybe we're just bored. Maybe we just feel things are a little routine. Maybe we're not really on um, the wrong trajectory. We're just feeling kind of inert or uninterested in the way things are going. So make sure you can tell the difference between that, right? Sometimes there are people who change simply for change's sake, right? That their um, their issue is not that they are unhappy with their path. Their issue is they are unhappy with any path. Once things get hard, or there is a certain amount of effort, or even just endurance, perseverance involved, they bail, right? They find a different thing to do. Their interest is fleeting. And this, I mean, you can see how this could be a problem, right? So if you feel that is true for you, then you might want to look at that and see, why is it that when things get tricky or complicated or a little hard, you want to leave. You want to do something different. Um, Maybe, I mean, we may have that feeling, but we don't always follow through with it, right? Um, as we know in yoga, right? It's okay to have feelings. It's okay to feel things, but you don't always act on them. You don't always feel that you have to follow that feeling. You can just notice that feeling. So if you find that you think that's getting in the way of the way you want your life to progress, work on that, right? Become comfortable with just sitting um, with your problems, with your challenges, and go through them. Don't run away from them. Don't try to avoid them. That is basically at the essence of a lot of what people, when people change course, when people do things differently, um, it's a it's a fear. It's a fear of going through something boring or something really hard, some struggle. But what we know from experience, right, and yoga and everything, all of this knowledge that we've been given is that struggle is the norm. Struggle is inevitable. Right? Struggle is the way we get from here to here. We don't just happen. It doesn't just happen. There's nothing magical about following a yoga path. You still have to put in all the work, right? Yoga turns the light on for you in the room, but you have to take the books off the shelf. You have to do the research. You have to find your place in all of that. Um, no one can do that for you. Right? If you're waiting around for someone to do it for you, you're going to wait a long time. And if you are letting someone else do it for you, you are not going to end up with a life that suits you. And I see a lot of people do this in yoga, where they follow a path, maybe things that they've read. I mean, yeah, maybe things that they've heard, they've seen online, ideas that they have about what being a yogi is about. None of those things have sprung up for them. Um, they don't feel like what their next step should be. Um, and they may, either be ahead or behind the curve on that. So ideally, as you are working your yoga path, you're going the niyamas and the niyamas. You're doing samasana. You're moving through the different steps, the different limbs of yoga. These things happen organically. You put them on like you do clothing that fits you, that suits you, the right thing for the right weather, right? You don't wear a big winter coat in the summer. Um, and as you move through the different stages and the different levels of where you are, different things will come up for you. Ideally, you'll find the perfect accessory and be able to put that on. Um, if you feel like you're wearing a costume, then you probably are. Um, so maybe set it aside and find something more authentic to you. There is no one way to do any of this. The way that suits you, that suits your life and your experience is right for you. But don't try to rush it. Don't try to put on more than needs be. That can be a very frustrating part of the yoga journey, is that it moves at its own pace, which is really your pace. But it's your pace. It's not your brain's pace. Your brain is like, oh yeah, I'm ready. I'm do all this stuff, But the rest of you is like, hold on there, hold on. We gotta get ready and do this when we're ready. So listen to everything, not just what your brain is hollering at you to do. All right, so we're sitting up. Let your head drop down. Just breathe here. And then lifting up, chin lifts. Back to center. Head drops to the right. Back up and head moves left. Walk the hands out in front. And then hands behind, squeeze the shoulder blades together, gaze up. Back up to your seat. Left hand on right knee, right arm behind, sit tall, and a twist. Switch sides, twist. And back to your center. Tabletop. And then sitting back on the heels. Go back up. Moving through cat-cow. Inhales and exhales. And then we're going to swing the right leg around. Arms up overhead. Hands to center, take a breath. And then we're twisting, pulling that right shoulder back. Back to center, right hand, down by the foot, left arm lifts. Both hands down. We're going to kind of walk the hands out. Walk the hands back. Maybe extend that leg out a little bit. And fold. If you got a bend here, that's fine, right? Things may feel tight. And then swing that leg around. Back into child's pose. Maybe bring the knees a little wider for this one. And we're back up. Tabletop, then swing that left leg around. Hands up overhead. And then back to center, take a breath. Moving to the left. Back to center. Left hand down on the floor, right arm lifts. And then both hands down, kind of moving into a kind of a lizard here, whatever works for you. Walk the hands back. And we're folding over the leg. Set your foot down. Swing it around into child's pose again. Maybe stack the fists if you like here. Moving back up. Tabletop to downward dog. Moving forward, high plank. And then lower down. Head turns to the right. Relax here. Bringing the head back to center. Let's leave the arms where they are. We're going to flip the palms, and then we're going to lift up, head and chest, arms and legs. Lower down, head turns left. Head back to center. Let's bring the arms out in front. And then we're going to roll onto one side. Top leg bends. And we can grab a hold of whatever you can reach here. Maybe the ankle or the knee. Right? We're going to work to straighten that leg and stretch here. Trying to balance on this bottom hip. You might need to bend the knee a little to give yourself some stability. And then we're going to roll. So we are on the other side. Stretching the opposite leg now. And then bend the knee, lower it back down. We'll end up on our backs on the mat. Get comfortable here, take a few breaths. And then let's bring the right ankle on top of the left knee, setting up for supine pigeon. Might be here, pressing that right knee away, or bringing the left leg in. Set the foot down, but we're going to leave that right ankle on the left knee. Arms to a T or goalpost arms, lowering that left knee and the right foot together, gaze to the right. And we're back up. Switch around. And same thing, opposite side, whichever version of this pose is yours today. Set the foot down, keep that ankle on the knee, and we are moving that knee to the right, gazing left. Back into center. Let's bring both knees into the chest. We can just hug them in here. Take a few breaths. Maybe rock side to side. Taking happy baby here. Breathe. So holding yoga poses a little longer can help us with this urge that we may have to move on to other things. It can become a habit, right? This flitting from one thing to the next, rather than sticking with something through the parts that are hard or boring or confusing or just, the way they are. Yoga helps teach us that we can endure, that in a small scale here, we may dislike some parts of a longer held pose, like say, happy baby, right? But we know that it's doing some good, right? That it's helping us. Happy baby is a great stretch for the psoas, these hip flexors that are so important to so many of the yoga asana, and just a lot of our stability, our core stability. This is a very direct way to access that. So we know it has benefit. We know it's a good pose, but we may not like it. We may be struggling, like, ugh, how can I hold this? Well, how can you? I mean, you don't have to, but it's not going to hurt you if you do. I mean, obviously, if you're in pain, you don't want to, but if it's just that you're tired of being here, or you feel a little achy, or it's just boring, you've been here through it, right? Focus on something like your breath. Focus on the breath. You can focus on the sensations in the body, but if some of the sensations aren't that great, you might not want to focus too hard on them. Focus on something else. Focus on relaxing the shoulders. Focus on relaxing through the hips. Notice the sensation as it moves through different parts of the body, right? Your hips may feel tired, but then your knees might feel tired. So you can shift how that feels also. All right, well, we're going to let that go and extend the legs. And then see how good that feels, right? Pretty good. So you can hold that pose for a long time. You could hold any of these poses for a pretty long time. There is a sense of accomplishment. And then bend the knees, set the feet back down. When you stay with a pose, when you stay with anything through the end, through its completion. And then let's just bring the soles of the feet together and let the knees relax apart. And then when you're ready, we're going to extend the arms and the legs for Savasana. But you could also, if you feel like it, you could get the block and do a little supported bridge, or you in all things, there are easier and hard parts. We may find as we are going through the course of a certain project, a certain activity, maybe a course of action, maybe a course of study, um, we may find there are times when we are really tested, when things get really hard really quickly, and we are really forced to confront, what are we going to do? Are we going to find a solution? Are we going to just give up? Are we going to uh, find a different way to do things, right? Um, Many of these things are tests, right? The universe will test us. It will test your resolve. It will test your commitment. Um, and we'll never really know whether these are normal um, adversities or they are, these tests. Um, but it doesn't really matter, right? We stick with what we're doing. Um, if it's important to you, you will persevere. You will either go through that test or you'll find a different way to do what you want to do, right? Um, you will either hurdle it or go around it, right? There are many different ways to go through these situations. But if you aren't committed, or if you were wavering, if you were on the fence about it, you may decide not to do it. And they aren't cruel things. I mean, I think sometimes people think of them as kind of this sort of capricious universe that is, testing you just out of spite or cruelty, or just to be mean or something, right? But that's not it at all. Um, you need to be strong, and ready for whatever it is that comes next. Um, you can think of it as a tempering, right? Um, Steel, when they are making swords and different things out of steel, needs to be tempered, right? You need to put it in cold water and it changes the structure, and then you keep going with it. So as with steel, we need to go through these things. We need to see, are we really ready? Um, do we really want to do this? Or are we just goofing off? Is it really just whatever, right? I think maybe we're disconnected. Nope, I think maybe we're back. Um, if things were easy, everyone would do them. Uh, and not everyone is ready for them, not prepared. And the results of doing things when you are not prepared can be disastrous, right? We want to go back to our Olympic theme. Um, you you don't want to go out on the expert slope if you are just a beginner. You will kill yourself, right? I mean, these people have trained for years to do what they want to do, and their challenges, they are ready for them. We need to do that as well. Maybe there's something else you need to learn. Maybe there is um, some information you don't have yet that you need to find out before you're going to be ready to go to that next space, that next level. So don't despair. Um, Even if what you want to do can't be done now, you maybe just need to get a little more prepared, and then you'll be ready. Moving around again, fingers and toes, hands and feet. Come on up to a seat. Let's bring hands together for a breath in and a breath out. Thank you for taking taking time today for yoga and for sharing that with me. I hope that you have a very good Friday. Namaste. Okay, great. I'm not going to do meditation today because my connection looks bad here. I'm not sure what's going on. I think I need to reset that. And I have something I have to do today. So we're going to skip it, but I would challenge you to get that 5 minutes done on your own today. Find a time, find a place, be comfortable, and it will go well. All right. Tomorrow, hopefully with a better connection.